Welcome to another Kundalini After Dark session. I'm your host, Brent Spirits, and I'm here on Zoom. We've got 19 in the Zoom room, a bunch tuning in live on YouTube as well. Thank you all so much for being here live with me today. Happy New Year to all. Today, I've got a topic. It's called Trust in the Flow. I'll share a little bit about what that means to me and some recent experiences around that theme, and that will lead us into a conversation with the community, an interactive conversation where others will be able to chime in, share, vent about this process, celebrate this process, ask questions to the community, and of course, respond to one another with our own wisdom and experiences. So that's what Kundalini After Dark is all about. If you're tuning in to the recording in the archive, you can join us live for the next Kundalini After Dark session. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for all of your support, for being here, for engaging, for liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, as well as for your donations. It goes a long way for me. It really, really does. Helps me to fulfill my mission to raise awareness about this process and to start conversations about this process. I want to remind everybody about something that we have coming up. March 28th, 2026. It's a Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern. KundaliniAwareness.org is hosting a global Kundalini Awakening meditation, 2 p.m. Eastern, March 28th, 2026. We've got some co-hosts as well, some other communities. We've got Kundalini Collective, When Lightning Strikes. We've got, as well, I had reached out to Hugo at the Kundalini Hub. The entire world will gather together for a Kundalini meditation. So you can sign up for free at kundaliniawareness.org/global. And don't stress, I'm going to be sending out a lot of reminders and links and stuff. So you won't be able to miss it. I hope you can all be there. We'll sit together in a shared energy field, and then we'll have an opportunity to connect and bring all of the communities together that are doing similar things to what we have going on over here: peer support, connection, conversation, sharing, offering our wisdom to one another and our company as well. So that's the meditation we've got coming up, March 28th, 2026, 2 p.m. So as I was saying, today the topic is trust in the flow. Of course, this is a theme that runs through a lot of my messages, my work. It's trusting in the flow. I don't see the flow as being separate from what we may call Kundalini Shakti, right? We were sometimes often described, I felt the flow of energy through my body. I feel the energy flowing. In the same way some people will describe out in the world, out in life, as they're navigating, they'll say they're going with the flow, going with the flow of things, allowing the flow of events to unfold in their life. So to me, I see it actually as all the same thing. It's all the unfolding of this dance of what we may call Shakti. Within the human body, we call it Kundalini Shakti. Uh, Within the universe itself, within the world, it's Shakti. It's all Shakti. It's all the goddesses dance. So we can trust in the flow. We can trust in the flow, both in our internal process as well as how things unfold in our life. And I don't think they're separate. And in fact, it was a big turning point for me on my journey when I recognized that there was an intelligent, or there is an intelligent force within me that, like I said, we can call Kundalini Shakti, that she is intelligent. Sometimes we refer to her as she, the goddess, the divine mother. She's intelligent. The way she moves through my body seems to have some sort of order, not just random, not just chaotic. There's some intelligent force orchestrating a process in my body. I said, this is interesting. This is incredible. Then I recognize that this same intelligence is not limited to my body. It's also aware of everything else in my life too. My circumstances, my calendar, my schedule, my work, my bills, my responsibilities, my friendships, my relationships, my health, everything. It's got to all of that within its understanding, within her understanding. And I feel that she's able to collaborate with us internally through this process, as well as pulling some strings and orchestrating interesting events and supporting us through the flow of life in general. So, of course, this is why I really emphasize cultivating a relationship with the divine, with God, with a higher force, however you'd like to think about it. I like to think about it as the divine mother. Some may refer to it as the universe, source, whatever you would like to refer to it as, just something a little bigger than what we may refer to as our ego, as our mind, as our separate sense of self. Because, of course, our egos, our minds don't know that much, can't really pull it all off, can barely pull anything off, right? We can barely uh, do much at all. And some of the most important things in our body we're not able to do, but yet our body does it perfectly, right? Digestion, breathing, our heart beating, right? The most important things. We surrender that over to some intelligence beyond our mind, and that's what we call Shakti, Kundalini Shakti or Shakti out in the world. So anyway, I had a recent experience that I think, can incorporate some different themes that we can discuss today if it inspires anybody through some conversation. It demonstrates a little bit about how I live my life at this point in my journey, in my process. And I think it's just really interesting. So Kundalini After Dark, I find it just created this space just to share some of these interesting things that I was experiencing throughout my life. And so I can begin by saying about a year ago, I was told intuitively by this intelligent force of Shakti, of Kundalini. Sometimes she will actively communicate with me, not always, but sometimes I quite literally will hear messages, very clear, um, unable to ignore, and often not ambiguous in a sense. So anyway, I was in meditation. I heard this message: "You will be moving into a Kali temple." So I said, that's interesting. I did have some intentions to move, and I was told it would be a Kali temple. So I thought, this is so fascinating. Okay, interesting. We'll see how this unfolds. What does this mean? Well, of course, if you're familiar, Kali, I speak about Kali a lot. I'm a devotee of Kali in a sense. Kali is one of the depictions of the Divine Mother out of the Hindu tradition. She's fierce. She slays demons. She's very protective of you by slaying the demons that may impede your ability to relax and feel safe and feel connected. So nonetheless, I revere this depiction of the Divine Mother, one of the many depictions of the Divine Mother, but this one in particular has just resonated with me. So I said, okay, I'm hearing this message. I'll be moving into a Kali temple. Interesting. I'll go along with it. So normally, looking for a new place can be pretty challenging. Anyway, I found this place. Everything just just worked out well. Green lights the whole way. On my way to drive to see it, I was listening to an audiobook called Dancing in the Flames: The Dark Goddess in the Transformation of Consciousness. It's a fascinating book um, about the reemergence of the divine feminine at this time on the planet. And they speak a lot about this idea of the dark goddess, like a Kali, this fierce depiction of the divine mother. I read an excerpt that I heard while driving to see this place. I was listening to the audiobook. And so the author writes, I was sitting in my sunroom reading the morning paper. A sense of excitement grew as I read an article on the dedication of a temple to the Black Goddess, Kali, right here in Toronto, Canada. Now, I live in Toronto, Canada as well. This book was written sometime in the 90s. So I'm on my way to see, this new place. I'm told I'll be living in a Kali temple, and here I am listening to an author speak about hearing about a Kali temple also in Toronto, Canada. So already this saga has begun in an interesting way. So I'll continue just to not leave you hanging on this paragraph here. The author writes, although I knew very little about her, I had become fascinated by her image. I saw her dancing, a bloodied sword in one hand and a severed, bearded head in the other. Her lolling tongue hung out of her gaping mouth, and around her neck dangled a necklace of skulls. Why was I fascinated by such a fierce image? Was I harboring some unconscious rage that wanted to burst out? Much as the patriarchal systems that dominate our culture irritate me, even enrage me, I sensed that that wasn't the explanation. I felt Kali herself crying out to me. So that, once again, is from Dancing in the Flames, the Dark Goddess in the Transformation of Consciousness by Marion Woodman and Eleanor Dixon. So that was the paragraph that, through synchronicity, through grace, through the flow, I heard on my way to see this place. Well, nonetheless, of course, everything checks out. I move in here. About a week later, I'm doing one of my favorite things to do, which is browse Facebook Marketplace. And I see someone is selling a Kali Murti, a statue, a big one, about, over a foot tall, and only about 5 minutes away. I negotiate a little bit on the price, get a great price for this Kali statue, and suddenly, I meet this woman in a coffee shop, And she tells me about her relationship with Kali. And she's also a devotee, and she says she's got to, move, but it was very supportive for her during particular times on her journey. And so she was grateful that it was going to another person who, had a bit of a relationship with Kali. Nonetheless, came home, placed the Kali statue in my home, and now, of course, I could say it's become a Kali temple suddenly through the flow. So throughout my time here, I, of course, was engaging in my practice like I encourage others to engage, to just surrender, to allow the Kundalini to flow through, the Shakti to flow through, and maybe that's spontaneous kriyas, movements, to put you into meditation, to uproot various emotional challenges you may have from the past, to burn up karma, whatever it may be. I just welcome it all. So this became my space to do that. I would play mantras to the Divine Mother, to Kali, to all of the various depictions of the Divine Mother as well. Though this year I've had to now stop hosting it, but we also started to host Shakti Hour here. So others on the community would join, and we would all engage in spiritual practice together live on the Zoom calls. As well, I began to host people here to discuss the topic of Kundalini, Kundalini Shakti. So this place became a Kali temple on its own, right? Just through the flow, just through my own surrender and just following my impulses and allowing things to unfold. Sometimes people would report after coming here that they would, experience some energetic shifts, maybe have some powerful dreams, some powerful experiences. So it seemed that this was, in fact, a Kali temple, and I could see myself. I actually had sometimes said, I'm just like a custodian here. This isn't even my home. I'm just a custodian here of the temple, with the privilege, with the honor to be able to, take up residence here as part of my sadhana. Sometimes I would see it like that. So anyway, the time has now come for me to move from this place. And I was wondering, who might live here after. A lot of powerful things have taken place here thus far. Lots of energy has been cultivated in this space, and it's pretty powerful energy. Kali is not one to mess with in terms of if you were to invoke a particular archetype or goddess, Kali is pretty fierce. So I thought, who might come here next? Would it just be an average person who has no idea about this? Um, who might it be? Well, anyway, my landlord said, "Hey, Brent, you're moving. My niece is looking for a place. I'm going to send her over to check it out if you don't mind." I said, "Of course, she's welcome to come." So my landlord's niece came by with her partner, and they were checking out the place. It's whatever. It's a typical showing of a home. And anyway, they see my little setup here for my podcast setup with my light and my mic, and they say, "Oh, what do you do here?" I say, "Oh, I do some podcasting." Now, normally I don't talk about this stuff with anybody. I just kind of leave it very vague. I like to let other people lead me into conversations about spirituality rather than, you know, um, putting myself out there in that way. I feel more safer like that. And I also, of course, prevents me from just getting a little ungrounded and talking about crazy spiritual things to people that don't get it. So anyway, normally when people hear that I do podcasting, most people don't care. They're like, okay, whatever. These people, they asked, about what? I said, oh, spirituality. Oh, really? We're in that world too. Oh, I say, oh, interesting. Cool. What kind of stuff are you into? They say, oh, we're energy healers and Reiki masters. I say, oh, interesting. Okay, cool. So I felt them out a little bit. I said, I like to support people with Kundalini awakening. It's a big part of my life. And they say, oh, we've had many Kundalini awakenings. So I thought, oh, that's so, so interesting. Of all the people to come to my place here, here are these two people, one of us, right? Just like all of us here on the call, two of us, right? Had come to my little Kali temple here. So anyway, they're checking out the place, and then they see the statue of Kali, and they say, "Is this Kali Ma?" I say, "Yeah, this is Kali Ma." They say, "Oh my gosh, we have both had visions of Kali Ma." I say, "Ah, so interesting that you've been in essence, summoned here to this place." And I then began to tell them about, yeah, this is a temple. It somehow became a temple. I don't know much about temples and things like that. It just kind of happens spontaneously, organically. And, it's so interesting that you've both come here to visit this place. Now, whether they move in here or not, I can't say. We don't know. But, they were invited here through the flow. And it's things like this that really get me to get myself out of the way and allow the flow, Shakti, the goddess Kali, the mother, to orchestrate these things. It shows what I'm saying, that she doesn't just know everything about what's going on in your system with your energy flow and your energy body and your chakras and all the emotional stuff. She knows everything about everything that's going on. She knows that you're going through transition. She knows what's on your calendar. She knows the people that you need to meet and encounter, the teachers. She knows all of this, and she's willing to facilitate it all and do so in such incredible ways that make you say, wow, this is incredible, that humble you, that make you just, sit in awe of it all. And it's things like this that just really intensely, in a sense, erode parts of me that doubt, or parts of me that feel like I need to be in control, parts of me that feel like I need to figure it all out. Knowing that she's out there or in here or both, looking out for me, taking care of things, helps me to feel much more relaxed and safe in this world. So, a couple things here. Often with this process, perhaps not often, maybe always with this process, we will go through some significant transitions. I don't think I've encountered anybody that through this process hasn't gone through some significant transitions as a result of this process or part of this process. So maybe it's moving, maybe it's relationships ending and new ones beginning, career changes, health changes, lifestyle changes, all sorts of significant changes come through with this process. And it can be daunting, it can be challenging, especially if you feel like you're alone through those transitions. You can feel like sometimes this is happening to you and there's no order, it's just chaos. But it's events like this, and I'm sure we all have them in various degrees, that reveal to us that these transitions, that through them we're held. We're held by something that's saying, hey, it's going to be okay. I've got you, right? You don't always get the full picture and how it's going to work out, but there's something there. If you look for it, if you're open to it, if you call out, in my experience, she, the Divine Mother, or God, or the universe, or source, or your guides will reveal itself to you, right? If you're open to it, if you're open to it. But in order to be open to it, we have to then be willing to let go of some control and make some space, right? So all of these transitions, if you ask me, I think they'll be perfect through this process. They'll be perfect. Does that mean they will be free from challenge, free from difficulty? No. It'll just be the perfect type of challenge that you need, the perfect type of difficulty that you might need through some of those transitions. But through that, you can know that's not random, it's not chaotic, right? So for me, this idea of moving, right? It could be stress, the perfect place. I got to find the perfect place. I got to find the perfect place, right? Sometimes I can feel like that. And then yet still the Divine Mother says, how can we mess this up? Where you live is so important. There's so many interesting things that need to take place as a result of where you live. You need to be in close proximity to certain things and certain things that are going to happen. And so you can't get it wrong, so you can relax and trust. And these are things that I have to remind myself as I, of course, you know, along with my partner, look for a new place now. It's different than the first time. It's not the same. It's challenging, and I have to remind myself, hey, I got the perfect place the first time. Why can't I do it again? Of course, it's going to happen like that. So I can relax, I can surrender, I can trust. Right. The same goes for teachers, guides, friends, mentors, maybe partners. Right. The universe just brings the perfect person, people to my place just to show me, hey, Brent, I'm the greatest networker. I'm the greatest agent. I'm the greatest matchmaker of all time. It's effortless for me. Look, I can bring two Kundalini people into your home just to show you that they're there, just for that. Who knows if they live here or not? That's besides the point. Just just to bring them, just to introduce you to them and say, hey, you're not alone. We got you. Right. And what does it do for them? Perhaps they also went home and had a similar contemplation to me. Right. So in the same way, when you wonder, oh, what about, if you're single, you're looking for the right partner. Is it going to be a Kundalini person, somebody who gets me, somebody who's on the spiritual path? Of course. Right. What about your teachers, spiritual teachers, your guides? Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a resource, a video. All of this can be orchestrated by her. This is what it means to trust in the flow to bring you what you need, who you need at the right moment, right? So this is all part of her dance. These transitions, they're a reflection of impermanence, of change, of the flow. I don't see impermanence as separate from the flow of Kundalini Shakti, right? The Buddhists will refer to impermanence as, of course, something that we can experience directly. And sometimes we may see that there is a we may not see where the idea of impermanence fits in with this idea of Kundalini, but I think it's all the same. It's all the same. When you sit in meditation and begin to get in touch with impermanence, you begin to experience the flow of the arising and passing away of particles within your system, right? That flow, and you begin to perceive it as energy. It's the same as Kundalini, the same as Kundalini. So when that's happening in your body, the particles are rising and passing away. They're dancing in your body energetically. It's no different than what's happening out in your life. All the changes happening out in your life as well. It's all the same, right? So it's all Shakti's dance, right? So how do we trust the flow? How do we get more into it? Well, so many different ways. I think spiritual practice is, in essence, simply making space for the divine in your body, in your mind, and in your life. All spiritual practice is basically doing that. So if we're moving, if we're engaging in stretching, or whether it's through a structured yoga practice or it's through a spontaneous organic flow of movements and kriyas, what that's doing is it's opening space up for the divine to flow within your system. So when you move and shake spontaneously and kriyas are happening and you're bending and you're twisting, that's opening up. It's making space for the flow of God. It's making space for the flow of God. When you sit in meditation and you settle in and relax and feel safe and calm, and perhaps eventually, though not always, the mind becomes quiet, the space between thoughts become wider. That's space for God. Space for God. When you let go of control so much and you look for signs, synchronicities, you look for evidence of grace, you look for evidence of the divine in your life, what you're doing is you're getting space for more evidence to show up as well. So that's all spiritual practice, right? It's all spiritual practice. A big thing for me is to also recognize that our entire life, the entire universe is actually a temple of God, of the goddess, of Shakti, of Kali, of Source, the entire universe, not just, a small place, the entire universe. And wherever you go, if Shakti dwells within, then wherever you go is a temple, right? Wherever you go, right? And so looking for the evidence that everything is a temple. And if it's all a temple, well, then everything is in its right place, in its right place. Another way that we can really trust the flow is to do what I'm doing here. Just tell these stories. Tell these stories. When I tell these stories, what it does for me, and I feel it moving through my system, it's like really letting it land and sink in that, yes, this stuff is real. Yes, I can trust it. Yes, I'm not alone. When I see others, reacting, nodding, saying, yeah, me too. That makes me feel, okay, this is real. I can let it land. I can let it integrate and become a new part of how I live in the world. So tell your stories too, big or small. That's a huge thing that I did to invite more and more miracles, more and more synchronicity, more and more flow into my life, is I look for an opportunity when appropriate to share this with other people. I just find that just really amps it up in my own life. It says, the universe says, oh, you like that? Here's more, here's more, here's more. So tell your stories, right? Whether that means writing, blogging, sharing with friends, texting them about it, whatever it is, making art about it, just in some way, tell those stories, remember the stories, contemplate the stories, right? Contemplate them often. So for me, though I've had many, many encounters like this, if I ever have a thought that comes up that says, oh, I have to meet a certain person, I need more friends or more mentors or more teachers or more clients, or I need the right person. I got to stress, I got to look for them. Where are they? And then I'll remember the story of just people that came to see my home and they were the perfect people. I'll say, okay, the universe took care of it then. It'll take care of it now. I can relax and surrender. So contemplating those stories goes such a long way for me, such a long way for me, right? And of course, with the flow, I like to bring it back to a grounded place. We still have to participate, right? We still have to participate in a grounded, human, reasonable, rational way, right? We don't want to engage in spiritual bypassing, right? We still have to use discernment, right? So if you're, say, dating, you don't just say, oh, the person in front of me must be from the universe. Let's go. Just, let's get married on day one. No, you have to use your discernment, right? Still be grounded, rational, reasonable, keep yourself safe, right? You still have to participate. You still have to put in some effort. You still have to go a bit of a search at times, but leave a bit of room, leave a little bit of space to collaborate with the divine. Don't make it all about you having to figure it all out yourself. You can say, yeah, I'm here to participate with the divine's plan, but not completely just sit on my couch and do nothing, not completely surrender my mind, my discernment, my boundaries or my effort, but actually to collaborate with the divine. And I think that's the sweet spot. That's the sweet spot. And it's an ongoing dance. It's an ongoing walk on the razor's edge. And through practice, like I was sharing, we can see that we're able to walk it a little bit more often, a little bit more steadily. It's more practice, but I'm not perfect at it. I still wobble. I still wobble. And I'll have to remember some of these things that I'm sharing with you now at points in the future when I begin to forget as well. And that's why it's a practice. That's why it's a practice. So I hope that could be meaningful for you, and I hope it sparks some ideas for people to share today. But I'll let you know that this is Kundalini After Dark. So if you've come with some really burning topics that you would like to share about, you can take our conversation in any direction. We'll bounce around throughout the call today. So, maybe somebody will speak about one topic and then we'll go to a few others and somebody will return to another topic. It's all good. It's all good. Once again, check out the links in the description. We've got kundaliniawareness.org, a directory of licensed mental health professionals with Kundalini Awakening experience. I've got my course, Grounded, Spiritual Emergence and Integration. Kundalini Q&A meetings are on Mondays, 2 p.m. Eastern. You're welcome to join there as well. I'm available for one-to-one support. And like I said, March 28th, 2026, 2 p.m., we've got the Kundalini Global Meditation. And you can register at kundaliniawareness.org/global. So now I'll open the floor up and see what others have on their minds tonight. Thank you all so much for joining. Let's see where it goes today. Let's hear from Lori.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm kind of trying to, I guess, I'm trying to go with the flow right now. So my awakening was about 3.5 years ago, and I had a Kundalini awakening at some point along the way during that time. And I have a history with anxiety. And so at some point, started taking anxiety medication because my anxiety just got really ramped up, and I weaned off of it this last July. And I've since had purging of like anger, apathy, grief, and then more recently, fear has come up. And it was like a little bit, and then it passed. And then on the other hand, my nervous system, when I'm okay, is like more healed than it's ever been. So then the fear came back for a little bit longer, and then I was okay. And now it's like ramped up a fair bit to where like my ego's kind of freaking out a little bit. And I'm thinking like, oh gosh, I really don't want to go back onto medication. And I'm wondering if that's kind of a normal thing that can happen on the journey to be, like 3.5 years in and have something like that come up. And I don't know whether it could be either extra Kundalini energy, because it does feel like it's like kind of big energy that maybe my nervous system could be misinterpreting, or if it's maybe like I wasn't able to clear that when I was taking the medication. And so now it's time for it to come up to be cleared. Or it could be like heart awakening or fear purging. I don't know if there's even like a collective kind of experience right now around that kind of thing, or even if any of that matters. And I'm doing what I can to ground and take really good care of myself. And I guess I'm wondering and trying to just let it move through. And I also don't have much in the way of interests right now. So I'm just kind of like, I got to sit in it. And so I'm wondering what you think about that as far as the timing. And then also if there's anything that you know of that could help me kind of go more with the flow, or if it's just kind of letting the process move through.
Mm. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing, Lori. And if others have anything to relate or share, please let us know. Yeah, some big themes there, ones that I think we can all relate with. I definitely can. So you were sharing that, after 3.5 years, this fear emerges. Well, one thing I can share was that interestingly, I had put out the talk about the 10-year update of my Kundalini awakening journey. So a decade had passed. About a few days after I had put that talk out, suddenly I went into also some significant fear essentially coming up. Fear. Yeah. So I think it can happen. It likely will for all of us. It doesn't mean that, we're always in the clear. It can come up. I think we carry layers and layers of different things. It wasn't like horror. There was just this mild, I described it as like instead of yeah, I think I described it to a friend as like I'm kind of shaking in my boots, like kind of. And I investigated a little bit. It had a lot to do with root chakra stuff, security, um, and a lot of it just sort of contradicted what I could actually see going on in my life, in my world. I'm on paper, I'm secure, but somehow my nervous system, my body was shaking and feeling scared. And so I sat with it. And I just allowed it to flow through me, like how you were, saying, should we just let it flow through? That's the way. Yeah. And supporting yourself through it, acknowledging that, yeah, there's some things that we've been carrying that now, for whatever reason, it's the time for it to come up because we're ready for it to come up. And it could have to do with some of the changes that are going on in your life. For example, the changes in medication. It could have to do with the collective, could have to do with the astrological stuff, or it could just have to do with, what's going on in your systems process itself. It could have to do with all of that. But I think what's key is exactly what you're doing, just really just being with yourself through it, supporting yourself. I think while allowing us to feel what's here and simultaneously doing our best to speak gently to ourselves, soothe ourselves. These are the things that I did. And also just like taking care of this body that's like actively releasing some intense stuff that's distressful for the body. So resting, eating well, going for walks, maybe it's Epsom salt baths, things like this can be helpful as well. And I can report that while I allowed that fear to come up to be here, and it lasted like over a month of like mild, like nonstop. I allowed it to be here. I sat with it, and there was a not a key moment, but it just sort of dwindled and dissolved. And that brought some significant changes in my external life that seemed to reflect that I had cleared something with that fear in regards to root chakra and security and whatnot. And so I would say keep going. If you're like overwhelmed and you're really feeling like you can't move forward, then we can look at some other things to do. And for some that may be talking to your doctor and reconsidering some of the things that you had um, discuss with them and whatnot. But it sounds to me like you're moving through like a gentle purge compared to some of those more obvious, really intense purges. How does that feel for you, Lori? And maybe some others can share.
Yeah, thank you. That's helpful. It does feel like it's a little bit intense, but it hasn't been for that long. So I think just kind of waiting it out and knowing that I can always go to more resources if needed, you know. But yeah, just keep going.
Yeah, yeah, just keep
Thank you.
going. Yeah, keep going and taking care of yourself along the way. Yeah, yeah, no problem, Lori. Some others are belating here. Yeah, catchers here. I relate to your experience, Lori. I was on medication that suppressed a lot of emotions. They all came out to play post-awakening. And once I weaned off those prescriptions, like Brent always says, what you're feeling, you're healing. Yeah, and I got that from Matt Kahn. What I'm feeling, I'm healing. I found that to be helpful.
Hi. Happy New Year, everybody. Hi, Brent.
Tom, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. In one, when I was going through a really bad time um with trauma being relived, um, I took medication, which was not a bad thing, uh, and the anxiety lasted for intensely, like to the point of wanting to be dead for about 6, 8 months, and then lessened. However, what I found with medication was, and I was advised by an expert in, I suppose we'd call him in Kundalini, to first of all stop my intense practices, because I'd been being for many years very intense, like hours and hours of meditation, and he said, just back off, relax. What you have to do now is he said that you're so overwhelmed by uh, what's happening is just stop meditating, stop doing any spiritual practices, and just breathe. Just relax and breathe. And, you could focus on spot, the Madhyadasa, between the two breaths. Uh, but back off from all the rest of it because it'll settle down, and talk to the goddess and ask for a gentler experience. Now, a funny kind of a thing here in I was taking Ativan, lorazepam was the other name for it, and here's my experience with that. Um, when I used it, I would have this strange experience that I was the the anxiety became personified, and I would be very high on them, which is not wanting to be high because I don't like Ativan. There's better things to get high on. Uh, but I would be very sort of zoned out, and the experience was that I was now in sort of a bubble, so to speak, and made by the Ativan. But all the things that were freaking me out, the anxiety, those things, if you want to call them that, were sort of outside the bubble and talking to me, and they were saying, sounds, I know it sounds nuts, but isn't, they weren't really talking, but in my mind they were saying, yeah, you took the out of that, now we're detached from you for a little while, but it'll wear off, and then we'll be right back. Ha ha ha. Sort of. So I sort of didn't found other ways, like talking to the goddess was much better, but the anxiety was there, and it was going to come back because the uh, the medications were just they weren't even really helpful by that point anymore, because it was still there. The anxiety, the cause of that was still there, and so they would come back, and I'd take another Ativan, and they would back off again. But it was always just for a few hours. They were like almost like naughty children, You'll turn your back, mom, and then we'll get back into the freezer for more ice cream. Uh, so yeah, just so any advice that I would give always would be, talk to your medical professional, and but if you think you're doing too much spiritually, just breathe. Go to that source, turn the thoughts off as much as you can by getting to that space between the breaths. And if you need medication, great, take it. If you need it, but you won't remember. As the guy got me to take my medication said, well, the same energy that or power or whatever that created the universe also made those pills, and there's a reason for them. This isn't 18th or 19th century India. This is modern times, and that medication has a purpose. So use it the way it's supposed, to do that, to fulfill its purpose. But uh, just breathe. Anyway,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom. Yeah, some grounded, straightforward, simple advice, but yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated. Just breathe. Just breathe. Yeah. Yeah, that's gets me through a lot, just connecting with the breath. And I like how you said talk to your doctor as well as talk to the goddess. And Samantha adds here, don't forget to ask her what she's bringing up for you to heal. You'd be amazed at the response you will get from her. Kundalini will help you understand when you engage with her. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean by cultivating a relationship with this force. Thanks, Samantha. Thanks, Tom. On the topic of moving, B shares here, moving at the end of the month too. It's divinely orchestrated, but I still struggle with trusting all the details. Ex control freak here. Trauma response. Yeah. Well, I think that's definitely the case for me too, right? Control is the ego's MO. I think the whole journey is how much control and how often can we hand it over, hand over to the goddess, to God, to the flow. I'm happy you can relate, B. Hugo also relating here shares that God certainly weaves the greatest of tapestries. I live this daily also. Yeah, it's it's really incredible. All the different ways that the synchronicity, the flow, the grace of God shows up. Alicia shares here a significant moment of this happened to me this past week. I felt so much emptying out and asked why so much grief was hitting me again. The answer I received was to make space. The next day, the Divine Mother came to me via beautiful synchronicities, filling me with love. Ah, that's beautiful. Yeah, and that covers all that we've talked about so far in such a beautiful way. Alicia, thank you. And Allison adds here, yes, a lot of times the emotional purges are making space for new to come in. Let's hear from Ronald.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing well.
Doing
How you
well,
doing?
Ronald. Happy New Year. Good
Happy
to
New
hear.
Year. Happy New Year. Glad to be here. Um, yeah, I think so. The last 3 days I've had like a um, really difficult, like just real life stuff. It hasn't really been like Kundalini related or anything, but it's just I think sometimes, no matter what, sometimes you're gonna have some difficulties in life. You know what I mean? I think it's the whole thing of experiencing suffering. You know what I mean? So yeah, like past 3 days, I just had a lot of kind of back to back things that just happened like out of nowhere, and it really just kind of knocked me off the horse, as you could say.
Mm,
So usually I'm pretty good at staying grounded. I'm pretty good at handling adversity. I'm really good at staying centered and everything, but it's just like I had so many things just hit me out of nowhere, and a lot of it I just wasn't really prepared for, and it kind of it kind of knocked me off the horse a little bit. So yeah, but strangely enough, I feel good. I think that one thing that I've noticed is um, sometimes it's also a blessing when life gets hard, because when life gets more difficult and things start piling on, as for me, personally, like I forget about all this because life gets just so okay, like gets so hard and gets so chaotic that I don't really have time to really reflect on my emotional state or my energy or like something like that. So in a sense, I can say that the positive spin on it is that it's been very grounding, and it's been very grounding for me, and it's just really like it's really like reminded me that I'm still very much human, right? So I think yeah, sometimes I go through these periods of time where I feel so good that it's almost like I'm not really experiencing too much suffering. But so when it comes, it's for me, it's kind of feels good because it reminds me, hey, you're still human. You still have a lot to learn. And so I'm really, I'm not really proud of myself for like how I kind of let myself kind of get off track a little bit with my center and everything. But I'm just trying to practice forgiveness and saying, hey, you know what, like I'm human, and I still have a lot to learn. So just being open to um, learning whatever lessons that I need to be learning so that I can be better. So
mm.
yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share. Yeah.
Yeah, Ronald, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing vulnerably and showing that this is, you're keeping it real with us here. Yeah, yeah, it happens to us all. It reminds me of this device that I was experimenting with called the Muse headband. It's sort of it's like an EEG device. I don't know what that means, but it like tracks your brain waves or something as you meditate. And one of the things that it does is it gives you a star as a reward every time that you recovered from getting lost in thought or losing your focus. So the moment that you regain focus, it's able to recognize that and you get a star. So recovery from some of those times that we may, like you said, fall off the horse. Getting back on the horse, that's something to be celebrated. I don't think it's about how many times we fall off. It's about how many times we get back on. It's a bit cliche, but I think that's really where the practice really grows, is getting back on. And so, yeah, it happens to the best of us, and all of us. If you look at if you do any deep investigation in any of these great masters, teachers, you'll see a human there who also fell off the horse at times. Maybe not in huge catastrophic ways, but still a human there. All of us works in progress as we're human. Yeah. So thanks for sharing, Ronald. Yeah. I think everybody can relate to that. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear from Amanda.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Hey, Amanda, it's going well.
Um,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, I wanted to share on the topic of moving. This has felt relevant for me. I think for a while now, I kept wanting to um move somewhere else. I live in a pretty dense, chaotic city, and like in the kind of mode I'm at, that's been very overwhelming at times. It's felt like um just like moving through the world, being on a bus, picking up on a lot of things. And it's interesting because I chose to move here knowing that would be the case. And I think back to that, and I almost was like, I think I can find peace if I move to the woods. But like I kind of think I could find that easily, but it's like I almost need to be um where I can like still learn how to be with the hard things. And that's something I thought about and like have forgotten about now that I'm here. And I'm like, why am I here? This is so hard. Um, and like feeling that almost like itchiness to like move or go somewhere else has felt really um yeah, I've noticed that more recently, that it is a kind of like craving or like a distraction or like a wanting to like get out of the present. And so letting go a little bit of like I can choose and create my most ideal experience and just kind of be here has been really helpful for me. Um, and I was talking to my friend who is studying evolutionary biology in animals. And it was funny talking to her because she's not a spiritual person at all and studies animals. But what she said really resonated with me, which was she was talking about why some animals become um, generalists, like why they're like good at a lot of different kinds of things and very adaptable and flexible. Um, and are essentially raccoons. Like raccoons are generalists, like they're good at a lot of things. And why aren't all animals like that? Like why aren't we all able to like do a lot of things and be flexible and adaptable? And the reason she said was because some animals live in environments that are like too optimal. So they never needed to evolve the like being flexible, being adaptable. And just hearing that, and I was just like, oh, that's so interesting. Like I feel like I'm in some part of me chose this experience that's like actually like hard and difficult and not optimal at all. And in order to like become, yeah, to grow in this way. And yeah, I know this isn't always accessible to hear or like even like it can feel dismissive sometimes to hear that, especially when we're going through struggling like moments of struggle. But it's something that I've heard personally that I don't know has given me like more agency in my process and also um just like understanding that this is for something for me and that I'm like growing from this.
Mm. Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda. Yeah, yeah, that's really meaningful. And yeah, of course, I understand that some people, have some difficult times, but I don't think what you're sharing is dismissive. It sounds empowering and encouraging. Yeah, they've created these really great environments for spiritual growth and spiritual practice where there's, silence and things are in a certain way that are conducive to practice, and that's great. But, sometimes I think perhaps maybe, maybe many of us, maybe we did that in another lifetime, previous lifetime, when we said, this time I want to do it uh, in a bit more harder context and attain real mastery in that way. And so here we are, taking the bus and doing all these things amidst all the chaos and seeing if we can still stay centered, right? Yeah, I mean, that's maybe some of us are badass like that. It's one way that I like to think about it. Yeah, I think we can all relate a little bit on that too. Thanks, Amanda. Now, Tom asks here, Brent, please tell us more about the Muse headband. I wanted to buy one, but I'm not sure it will be helpful in maintaining witness consciousness. What's your opinion about this? Yeah, so it's essentially like a consumer grade brain scanning device that uses EEG. Like I said, I don't know what that is, but it sort of senses your brain waves. It sits on your head, and it's really incredible, actually. Like when you are one pointed or focused or calm, it it was able to sense that. And the moment that you lose that focus, it's able to also sense that too. It's really incredible. I was blown away. I bought mine used. If you're interested in experimenting, you can look for a used one. I found one on Facebook Marketplace. I think I spent 50 Canadian dollars on it. And I was blown away that for 50 bucks, I have something that's literally reading my mind, reading my degree of concentration when I'm thinking and when I'm focused and whatnot. It was incredible. So anyway, I was just experimenting with it a little bit. I haven't used it too much, but how it works is basically um, you can set a session, and when you put it on your head, you sit to maybe say focus on your breath. When you're concentrated on your breath, it will reflect that back to you by either playing the chirping of birds, or you can set it so that there's a sound of rain. And the moment that you get focused, the rain gets quiet and eventually stops. The moment you start thinking, the rain will get louder. And if you think a lot, you'll hear almost like a storm. So, like that, you're able to get instant feedback in an auditory form about your degree of focus. And then, of course, it tracks that and it records that, and then it presents it to you at the end of your session. I found it to be helpful. It's essentially like um, instant feedback, so that if you get sort of lost in thought, the storm gets really loud, and hopefully you're able to recognize, oh yeah, the storm's getting loud. Like, let me get back to the breath. And then when you get back to the breath, the storm gets quiet. And I think it's pretty incredible. If you want to try it, you can grab a used one. I'm pretty sure they're quite common, because this is something that I think, people get as gifts. It's a great gift, but people don't use it and then they put it up for sale. So you can grab a used one and give it a shot, and then just sell it again. Sometimes you can sell it for more money and buy yourself lunch with the extra or something. But yeah, it's worth checking out. It's worth trying. I think if you're into meditation, it's worth giving it a try just to see what that experience is all about. And maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but it's cool nonetheless. Yeah, it's cool. Let's hear from Jay.
Hey, Brent. Good to be with you and everyone else again.
Hey, Jay. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. Yeah, thanks so much for your introductory comments and share. I feel like it's an ongoing conversation that's been happening on this topic, and things have gotten harder in my relative life. There was a period of time where the kind of falling away of the self was happening in a more smooth way. But then some things kind of happened and things got more difficult. And just to tie this back to the theme of what you're talking about of trust, it's like the less self, less ego, less doing there is, the more trusting there is, right? And the self, like I feel like 90% of doing, 90% of thinking, 90% of ego is fear, right? So as we do the healing work, or Kundalini is doing the healing work for us by pushing all of our buttons, bringing everything up, we get more and more clear. There's more and more space. And from that space itself, you see that there's nobody there. There's no one doing anything. There's no outside, there's no inside. Things are just happening. And even kind of the question of trust even almost seems to evaporate, right? It's just like there's no one here to trust. Just things are happening and it's fine. And one of my favorite spiritual teachers, A.H. Almas, says basically basic trust is when you are completely transparent to reality. You are transparent to its innate goodness and its inherent perfection. And it's an intuitive knowing that whatever is happening for the best and is a manifestation of this goodness, right? So it's basically deep realization, deep falling away of self is synonymous with deep trust, right? Lack of ego, complete openness to what's here, openness to the goodness. The human brain just is alight with the knowledge, like, oh my God, it's just goodness here, right? So I was having more of that. I was like, oh, this is good. And then the difficulty started again. And my OCD is there. My nervous system dysregulation is still there from some traumatic stuff that happened a year ago. And all of this stuff is just like on fire on the surface. And there are some brain patterns that are just like, oh my God, we're going to be destroyed. We're going to be destroyed. And then this deepened realization, there's a knowing that what's here and aware and experiencing can't be harmed or destroyed. So these thought patterns, these traumatized thought patterns are are just going and going and going, and then they're meeting the realization, right? They're meeting the realization, but here's the funny thing, it doesn't fix it. The realization doesn't fix the trauma looping in the brain.
Mm.
And I don't even know how to fix it. Like I'm working with a therapist, right? And I'm talking to people like you, Brent, and our other friends in the community, a lot of whom are very psychologically aware. But this is like the cutting edge of spirituality, right? It's like this realization isn't going to fix this automatically for everybody. And what do I got to do? What kind of things do I have to do to get my brain under control? You know, and that's when some of these things can really help, like your stories and inspiration about the divine working, to remind myself, remind these parts of the brain that need evidence, when this transparency to the goodness isn't enough. That's doing something. That's working on some level, but it's like all hands on deck. I need the whole Batman spiritual toolkit. I need it all. And one other thing I wanted to share was this concept of grit and grace, which Shanti has talked about before, and I think maybe Ken Wilber has talked about most famously a long time ago. And it's this idea that, there can be periods of just like effortless flow state. You're just open, you're not really doing too much, everything's in the flow, and you're like, oh my God, of course, of course I can trust. Of course life is benevolent. Of course life is good. And then there are times where it's very difficult and you're horribly contracted and you're just in your head and you're doubting everything. And that quality of human grit of like, I don't know what the fuck is going on, surfer swearing, what the F is going on, but I just have this intuition that I can trust. And it might just be like I'm just remembering something someone told me or a memory that I had of the time that life was good to me. And you're just hanging your head on that and you're just getting through it. And that nothing's gone wrong, and that this too is how the goodness of life mysteriously is manifesting. And I've been having some more difficult times now, and I've been reminded of this concept of grit and grace, and nothing's gone wrong. And if I've got to hang my head on grit for some time, I can. And yeah, these were just some reflections that came up after I heard what you shared and some others
Mm.
shared. So that's what came forward.
Yeah. Yeah, Jay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think others can feel it as well. There's a great soothing presence in the way that you speak and share. Um, I can definitely feel it. Yeah, and where I was actually feeling it is actually in my body. Um, your message was sort of coming into my body as opposed to going into my mind or my brain. And I think that may be where a lot of our work lies. We can have the realization and our mind can grasp it and see it clearly. And yet, if there's something in the body that's stuck, hurt, unaddressed, that needs more time, yeah, it may still continue to loop and be there. Um, that's at least what I've kind of come to see. And that's why I think in my share I was speaking about like creating space in the body for God. Um, and that takes time. I think the body lags behind the mind, in terms of realization and whatnot. It seems like the body is more dense and can't can't rush it or push it. And it can be frustrating for sure. I felt it. I still feel it. I'm always feeling something in my body that's getting worked out. And sometimes it feels obvious that it's connected to something, sometimes not so much. But nonetheless, Jay, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and reflections there. And also on the grit and the grace. This is we need both for sure. Ah, yes, and Tree Wise Blood's here speaking about trauma. And Tree's MO is awakening through the body, awakening through the body. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Jay. Let's hear from B.
Hi.
Hi, B.
Oh, videos here. Um, I want to say thank you so much for talking about trust. It's certainly been one of the most challenging things for me on my awakening path. I once heard it described as like cords, that if you had a difficult relationship with your own parents, that cut your connection to source, to God, to divine. It's reflected in the micro and macro, our connection to our parents. And I had a very traumatic childhood, adoption and abuse. And so trust was replaced with a very large ego that I used to joke is the size of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And my ego wanted to control the universe, because that's how I felt safe in the world. And I also, resonate with a lot of everything everybody else has been saying, because to survive, I used a lot of addictions through my life, as well as pharmaceuticals and eating and everything else. I tried it all, to keep it all together. And in my awakening, I quit everything like alcohol, cigarettes, caffeine, pot, sacred medicines, pharmaceuticals, lost over 100 pounds. So I had to learn to feel again. I hadn't felt in 40 years, and that made my awakening like a live wire of like like feeling like, oh my god. And I was scared of annihilation. Is The fear that I've been purging for the last 4 years has been insane. And I like what you say, and I totally agree with you that the answer for me was the body, literally from the ground up. I was going through a divorce and going through a legal battle and going through Kundalini and going through chronic pain all at the same time. And I spent about a year lying on the ground in my garden, holding on to the grass, breathing. Like that's all I could do was to feel gravity, to let my body feel gravity, because in having the sensory experience of my body feeling gravity, it began to trust that I was being held, that I was actually being supported, because otherwise I thought I might just like float off into the universe and just explode or something, like, because like it was crazy. This Kundalini stuff gets crazy sometimes, and so in learning to just be in my body and focus on the breath, so it was like the mother energy was the body holding me, because I had to like reparent myself through the earth, and refather myself through the air, and like just, this is God providing for me. Look at all the air that God is providing for me, that's coming in and out of me. Oh, I can trust God. God exists. I have air. So it was like really like the most simple things that saved me from like insane panic attacks and anxiety, and it's been a practice, and that was me about 2.5 years ago. And so much has happened in my 3D world, and I think those things are meant to happen to poke you, to help trigger you, to get all the feelings out. And I'm going through another move right now, but who I am today is well, I'm able to be on camera and talk to you, and feel like not terrified all the time. Uh, I still have a ways to go, and I do a lot of trauma work. So I do. Gabor Mate is like my guru. Like I love that man. He's like saved me more times than not. And I just want to say, if anybody is like struggling with the emotions that come up because we've repressed them our whole lives, that I totally understand where you're coming from, and it does get better. Like you're gonna think you're dying because you have anxiety or panic, because you've been hiding it all this time. You didn't want to feel it, but the more you practice feeling it and purging it, and healing it, it slowly cultivates more trust. It's slow though. So thank you, because yeah, trust is a very challenging issue on this awakening, because more times than not you're asking, what the hell is happening to me?
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. You've been through so much, and you're sharing a really empowered take for us all. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, yeah. I had some times like that laying in the grass too. You said something really poetic and beautiful. I won't be able to exactly quote it, but you said, I'm being mothered by the earth and fathered by the air. That's really beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Let's hear from Kat, and then we'll go over to Tom.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, Kat.
Hi, guys. Um, so I have a share. It might be a little bit rambly. It will probably end in a question. And it is on brand with our topic tonight, regarding trusting the flow and surrendering. And I'm at about the 2.5 year mark now of my awakening. And I was fortunate enough to find Brent in this community at the very start. So trust has always been a pillar in my process. So I'm very familiar with that. And lately I've sort of been grappling, it's been a theme for me, grappling with the feminine and masculine aspects of myself. I have a father wound, so that masculine energy is not really a driving force. It's something I've had to cultivate myself over the years. So I feel like I have the surrender, trust, go with the flow thing down. And lately I've been grappling with incorporating that masculine, do the thing energy. And I've had Shiva come through recently to me for the first time. And as such, I've been called to explore Tantra and the balance of those energies. So, yeah, I think I mostly just wanted to share because that's been a theme for me lately. I'm not sure if that's collective at all. And I'm also very curious if you or anyone might have some sort of like Tantra for Dummies type recommendations.
Oh, Kat, thank you so much for being here and Happy New Year. Yeah, you have a peer here. Alicia shares, this gave me the chills. Shiva just came to me for the first time as well, and I've been exploring Tantra. Yeah, I actually am not really astute in my intellectual understanding of Tantra in particular, though I feel like I have a very tantric path. It seems to me like these particular archetypes or these energies or these deities, however you like to think of it, seem to call me, and I begin to try my best to relate with them. And sometimes I ask, show me how to do this dance with you. Show me what it is that you need, and I'll be open to participate. And sometimes that will come through maybe it's through the flow, through synchronicity, a book, a teacher, a video or something. Other times it's just they say, hey, don't stress. We're gonna do this together. And they kind of just run the show, and I just almost like just go along for the ride. That's kind of my approach to all of it. Whenever I've tried to really look deeply into it, I get overwhelmed. There's so much there. And Tantra is such a huge umbrella that captures essentially everything, really. But there is a great podcast that I can recommend. Let me see if I could pull it up here. Uh, this guy is just absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so he has a podcast called For the Love of Yoga with Nish the Fish. I'm gonna link the Spotify. He's also got a YouTube channel as well. I'll link his Spotify. So it's For the Love of Yoga with Nish the Fish, and he is a really incredible speaker. He's just got such a great, pleasant vibe. Brilliant. He's been studying, practicing yoga and tantra and really breaks it down in an authentic way, goes deep. He doesn't hold anything back. He gives lectures that are just hours long and really meandering. And he was, I think, taught by somebody older in his family. It might have been his uncle or his grandfather. I'm not sure, but really brilliant. He talks about Kundalini. He talks about Kali. He talks about the Divine Mother. I'll just read off some titles of some episodes here. He's got one called "The Essence of Tantra and Why You Should Learn Puja." Another one is "How to Stay Grounded and Reasonable in Kali Puja." The two extremes of Kali worship. He goes on to talk about Kundalini. What is Kundalini? Um, Really, really incredible stuff. Check it out for sure if you're interested in that sort of thing. For the Love of Yoga, that's the podcast. You can check it out. I don't know him. I think he's also done an interview on Bat Gap, but at the gas pump.
Hmm.
Really, really brilliant guy. Check it out, Kat.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Brent. Yeah, I stumbled upon recently a podcast episode, Be Here Now, Ram Dass's podcast, and there was an episode on Tantra with a lot of Kali themes in there as well. So I'll throw that in the Facebook group at
Please.
some point. And so thank you for the Rex, and thank you to everyone relating and chiming in the chat. Happy New Year, y'all.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay. First, to well, with some speed to overcome lifelong trauma. What's worked for me is EMDR. The other thing that worked very well with that, in fact, is hypnotherapy. And a third point, when you use a method to get rid of something like that, it's filled your life for, say, maybe years, like whatever trauma it is. Now, when you get rid of it, you're suddenly left with an empty space. What do you fill that with? You can fill it with watching TV or goofing off or doing whatever, uh, or you can let that space be a place into which Shakti flows And because you will come back to it in memory. It will no longer have the after doing EMDR, it no longer has any power, but there's still room for something. So I would advise anyone who does that kind of thing, or even what we're does it other ways, get sort of trauma, fill that space with Shakti, and remember that you will come back to it every time you remember the trauma without any emotional attachment anymore. That's a good point to jump back into contemplating Shakti, or in fact, that would be a tantric method, using that as a way to remember who you are, you really are. Yeah, that's about all I want to say about that.
Yeah.
Nothing
Brilliant.
else. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Tom. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if some of these healing modalities tell you what to do once you're all clear and healed. Might be a part that they don't always cover, but yeah, what do we do with that space? Yeah, thanks for that. That's really helpful. Yeah. So Allison asks here, question for the group. What are your experiences with animals helping you in your awakening journey? My Frenchie died recently, and I realized how much he was helping me with heart coherence and grounding. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Allison. Yeah, I love Frenchies. Samantha adds here, Allison, I had a stray dog jump into my car and stayed with me until he died for a total of almost 10 years. But looking back, he helped me with grounding and also was calming, meaning whenever I went through a fear attack, he would come running and sit right next to me. Oh, that's beautiful. Lori shares here, my sweet dog Roxy died after my awakening and then came through in spirit as part of my soul family. She is/was a significant helper on my journey. Oh, nice. B says, my cat is my saving grace. Yeah, maybe some others can share on the call here. I can share my late pug, Crash. She played a significant role on my journey. Um, she showed me what unconditional love was, in a safe way for me to like let it land. That helped a lot. Um, she also inspired me to become a photographer. I became a professional dog photographer after photographing her. So she was my muse in a sense. But one particular experience throughout this, Kundalini awakening process, there was a time where I was completely ungrounded, completely outside of my body. So much energy was moving through me. I was just completely detached in a sense, and really, really out there. And she was a pug, uh, fat, and was not allowed to jump on my bed, even if she could. Anyway, I was laying in my bed completely ungrounded. She came in the room and leaped up onto the bed and just laid right on my chest. And just her laying there brought me back into the body. She kind of rescued me in a sense. And like I said, she could, it was like a miracle that she even jumped on the bed, and she wasn't allowed to anyway, so she never did. But in that moment, I guess she recognized, some rules need to be broken. And so she had jumped up. Another time as well, I was engaging in this practice. I'm sure many of you have heard me describe the I love you practice that I would do, inspired by Matt Kahn. Put my hands in my heart, and I would just say over and over and over again, I love you, I love you, I love you, to everything that was arising, thoughts, emotions, sensations. Not always the easiest thing to do, especially when, lots of pain and difficulty was coming up. Well, she was a pug. Um, Emotionally intelligent, absolutely, but not particularly a smart dog compared to, say, like a border collie, for example. Um, so she went over to her bucket of toys, all many different plush toys that, we had accumulated over the years. And she went through the whole bucket, pulling them all out one by one until she came down to a very small plush heart about that big. And she grabbed it, brought it over, brought it into my room, and just left it on the floor in my room and then left. And I thought, this is very out of character for her. She was, that may be something you might see from a border collie or something, to look for a specific toy. She never even played with toys. She just only cared about food. But she actively went in that bucket and looked for that particular plush just to give it to me. And I thought it's pretty incredible too. She was a really, really special dog, a big, big part of my journey, a part of my spirit team, if you will. And she is still is from the other side. Yeah. So thank you for bringing up pets and for others for sharing as well. They're really special, really, really special. Yeah. Yeah, Jay shares here. Pets can help tremendously. Holding a dog or cat can really help the nervous system. It's amazing the simple things can truly help on the journey. A cup of quality hot chocolate really helps me. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Jay. Let's hear from Dipali.
Hi, Brett. I really enjoyed your share at the beginning
Thanks, Dipali.
about the
Happy New Year.
Divine Mother and the flow. And I just have a really very quick thing I'd like to share, just as part of something that's helped me along this journey. A song you played, it was either on one of your morning streams or one of your calls, and it was called "Kali Burn It All Away." You know that one, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, and that song just stuck with me. Like I had never heard it before you played it, and there were times where I really couldn't do anything. I mean, literally, I didn't know what to do. I feel like I was just at my wits' end and pushed so far beyond limits. And I would put on that song, and that song would just remind me what was happening, right? It was like, this is painful, but it's being burnt away. So for my higher good. And I would just let that song loop in those moments when, you know, because it's not always easy to go into like EMDR or therapy or so many modalities when you just can't even get up.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just share that with the group. And it's the song is called Kali Burn It All Away, I think. And the artist is, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'll put the link in the chat.
Okay, please. Is it Tane or Tane Mahuta?
Yeah, that's the one.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's one of my favorite versions. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Thank
all I
you.
wanted to say.
Dipali, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm happy that you can relate because yeah, when I heard that as well, I said, this is just my anthem or my MO or something. Like just take it all, Kali, burn it all away.
Yeah.
If it doesn't serve us, then burn it all away.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also for me kind of like takes the pressure off of me for always having to figure out how to heal everything because she knows. No, I
Ah,
just get out of the way now.
yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, and I can't. You sparked some contemplation in me of the idea of a fire. Once the fire is burning, like you don't need to burn it a special way or a certain way or some special anything. You just throw whatever in there. It's gonna get burned up. You don't need like a special kind of fire or something, right?
It's so true.
It's just universal. It'll just handle it for you. I love that. Yeah. Thanks, Dipali. I'm happy you can relate.
Thanks.
Yeah. I've put that on this playlist here in a few different versions because I've heard it from a few different artists and whatnot. Ram Dass has a beautiful one as well, where he speaks. Sorry, it's not Ram Dass, it's a different artist. Give It to Kali. Yeah. So this is by Nick Mulvey. I'll link the Spotify. Give It to Kali. And he incorporates a bit of a talk from Ram Dass into the song, where Ram Dass explains this idea of giving it to Kali in a really beautiful way. He says, "Here, Ma, you take it. I don't want it anymore." And Ram Dass says, "Kali is drooling. She's dying for your impurity. She's drooling for them. She wants them. She wants to devour them. Feed it to her. Say, here, Ma, you take it. I don't want it anymore."
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Ah, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Dipali. Let's see. Thank you all so much on YouTube for tuning in and commenting here. I won't be able to get to everything, but I did see a question come through. Malemoline says, you mentioned layers and layers. Is there eventually freedom and lightness? Yeah, I think there is eventually freedom and lightness. I experience it, though not always. I think that we can sort of coast in freedom and lightness and peace and safety and relaxation and quietude for some time. And then if there's still some stuff to be burned up, still some stuff that we should throw in that fire for Kali to burn, perhaps if it's the appropriate time, we'll begin to feel that. And it's bittersweet, right? It's bittersweet. It can come out of nowhere suddenly, and it can be a little jarring. And that's the bitterness. And like to say it's sweet because in the midst of when something comes up, another layer comes up to be cleared, we could say, I didn't know I was still holding this. That means if I release this, I'll feel even more lighter and even more free on the other side of this. So why don't I participate in the purging and the clearing of this layer too? So that's my take on it, at least. Yeah. It's not just a bottomless pit of pain and layers that we're here. Like there's a purpose for this, for us to feel more and more peace, more and more spaciousness, more and more lighter. Yeah, it's not just bad stuff happening for no reason. Not at all. Not at all. Got some exciting things for 2026. I'm sure I don't know what they will be yet, but I know that this movement, this community will continue to grow and we'll all continue to evolve together. And so I look forward to the next time that we meet. You can find some links in the description. You can join the next Kundalini After Dark. You can join the Kundalini Q&A meetings, Mondays, 2 p.m. Eastern. Once again, Saturday, March 28th, 2 p.m. Eastern, Global Kundalini Meditation. Check it out, kundaliniawareness.org/global. I'm available for some one-to-one meetings if you would like to connect with me and go deeper. And I wish you all the very best this new year. Thank you all so much for being here with us all tonight, supporting one another, keeping each other company. We're getting through this together. Much love, everyone. Much love.